Why does one bad memory outlast 10 good ones? Tonight, you will lie in a safe, warm bed. Then, you will remember a single embarrassing mistake from years ago, and your heart will race. Why does one insult ruin your week, while 100 compliments fade? It feels like your brain is broken. But what if this design flaw is actually a highly tuned ancient survival machine, keeping you alive? Clara Thorne took a dangerous medical risk to prove it, and it almost ruined her. Clara Thorne is a cognitive biologist who wanted to know if we are programmed to suffer. Inside her lab, hooked to a high-density brain monitor, she filmed a self-documentary to map this imbalance. When Clara recalls 10 major professional awards, her brain monitor barely flickers. But the split second she remembers a devastating public failure, her brain activity surges instantly, bypassing her conscious mind. The monitor shows her amygdala, the emotional brain center, lighting up in angry crimson. It is not an even split. Her brain dedicates a massive share of its active neurons, or brain cells, to process that single bad event, locking it into long-term storage while letting positive feedback drift away. This is clue 1. Our brains are physically wired to prioritize threats over rewards. In October 2024, Mariana Alonso at the Institut Pasteur found that depressive states, or sad down moods, suppress the neurons, the brain's message cells, processing good things, while hyperactivating or overactivating the ones processing the bad. Even earlier, in 2016, Susumu Tanagawa at MIT showed that basolateral amygdala, or deep threat center, neurons are physically split. The anterior, or front region, encodes fear using a gene called RSPO2, while the posterior, or back region, encodes reward with a gene called PPP1R1B. Your brain builds 2 separate processing centers, and it guards the negative one much more fiercely. Clara believed this neural asymmetry, or unequal brain setup, was a biological flaw she could safely bypass. She was wrong. To override this ancient wiring, Clara makes a high-risk move. She starts a self-experiment using a beta blocker, a type of calming drug called propranolol, to chemically mute her painful memories, ignoring loud warnings from her lab director. Clinical researchers like Elaine Brunet at McGill University proved that taking propranolol within a specific memory rebuilding window, right after you recall a memory, can strip away its emotional sting. Clara swallows her first dose and focuses on the memory of her worst public lecture failure. 24 hours later, she runs a social threat test to check her baseline. On the surface, the experiment seems like a triumph. The agonizing emotional distress of her past failure is completely gone. She feels an incredible sense of relief and total mental freedom. But as she reviews her diagnostic data, the cognitive battery logs a shocking anomaly that she never saw coming. The data reveals a massive catch. In a diagnostic test asking her to identify micro-expressions of deceit and untrustworthiness in recorded negotiations, Clara's score has plummeted. This is clue 2. By chemically silencing the emotional pain of her memory, she has compromised her prefrontal cortex. She can no longer detect active deception in other people. She has lost her biological edge. Instead of stopping, Clara assumes this social blindness is just a temporary chemical side effect. She decides to push forward with a high-dose clinical sweep, stepping deeper into a highly vulnerable, unshielded mental state. To find out if this danger is truly temporary, she pulls the historical clinical files of patients with Urbach-Wiethe syndrome. This is a rare genetic condition caused by a mutation in the ECM1 gene, where the brain's fear center slowly turns to stone. Reading the medical files reveals clue 3. Back in 1998, neuroscientist Ralph Adolphs at the University of Iowa proved that Urbach-Wiethe patients are utterly unable to recognize untrustworthy or unapproachable people despite having high intelligence. Because they feel no fear, they can't see threat in another person's eyes. This leaves them constantly vulnerable to financial ruin and physical harm. Clara realizes that without negative memory retention, humans lose the basic biological shield that keeps them alive. Yet her desire to prove her experimental protocol overrides her safety. She ignores the medical warnings of calcified brains and schedules her final, irreversible sweep. But before she administers the final dose, she needs to know how we evolved this way. She runs a computational evolutionary model comparing hominid survival rates over thousands of generations, expecting her simulation to prove that happier, fearless minds are superior. The digital simulation is brutal. It runs on error management theory, formalized by Marty Hazelton and David Buss in 2000, alongside Randolph Ness's smoke detector principle from 2001. This theory mathematically models negativity bias as a survival mechanism. It proves that brains evolved to over-detect threats because missing a real predator carries a fatal survival cost, while a false alarm costs nothing. You want your smoke detector to go off when you burn toast, because if it stays quiet during a real fire, you die. In Clara's model, early hominids who prioritize positive memories over negative ones suffer a flat 100% mortality rate within 3 generations. They are too happy, too trusting, and they get wiped out instantly. Only the hominids with highly reactive amygdala bias survive. Clara watches the trusting lines perish in bright orange flashes, leaving only the resilient red line. This simulation triggers a profound wave of self-forgiveness inside her. Clara realizes her chronic anxiety is not a personal weakness, but an ancient, life-saving shield. But her realization is cut short by a real-world test. Right as she compiles her data, her lab is targeted by an aggressive medical research consortium offering a predatory contract. Because her threat detection pathways are still chemically suppressed by the propranolol, she feels absolutely no intuitive suspicion or fear in the boardroom. The smiling executives look perfectly safe and friendly to her. But she freezes. She forces her intellect to analyze clue 2 and clue 3 logically. She knows that science has shown no recovery from propranolol-mediated social impairment during active dosing. Recognizing her brain is blind to the threat, she decides to trust the hard data over her altered feelings. She holds her pen, refuses to sign, and declines the trap. By rejecting the predatory contract, Clara avoids catastrophic legal exploitation, though she immediately faces professional retaliation from the angry consortium. Now, she stands before the ultimate choice. She can take the final dose of propranolol to permanently erase her past professional trauma, or reject the drug, embrace her painful memories as necessary survival shields, and publish her self-documentary. Standing before the glowing brain monitor, she rejects the syringe. She chooses to live with the pain, realizing her anxious mind is doing exactly what it was built to do. On the screen, the glowing white stones of happy memories and the jagged black monoliths of past trauma slowly merge, glowing with a balanced, warm amber light. Clara publishes her video essay showing the world that peace does not come from chemical erasure. It comes from accepting our evolutionary armor. We must remember the sting of the fire so we do not burn to death. That ancient evolutionary shield was originally built to protect you from wild predators and hostile tribes. But what happens when this exact same biological survival bias is weaponized against your mind by the toxic digital algorithms glowing in your pocket right now?